Mario Tolaro, a small P-bid owner. And first, I would like to commend the Blue Ribbon Commission, who did one hell of a job. Those 10 people just did an outstanding job. And I think they deserve commendation. And I read that report, and I just can't imagine the amount of work they put in. And it was well done. The other thing, the other side comment, I think Mr. Burnett is owed an apology by CDC. I was at a meeting on the 5th floor when Burnett was excoriated by representatives of the CDC, and what they threw at him was not deserved. My comment with regard to the going ahead, the consultant has suggested separating the P-bid out. And as a business owner, I can tell you, I will be happy to support the P-bid as long as it's separated from CDC. If CDC remains in control, I will campaign against the removal of the P-bid. Thank you.
Good evening, Council. Glad that at least I'm not getting accused of being on a witch hunt, as we were when we first started this Blue Ribbon Commission. You know, some of the figures that stand out to me when going over all of this and working with it, $21 million over the last 5 years spent by the city in the P-bid area. $700,000 in P-bid assessments each year going into the budget, $600,000 of other types of money, redevelopment monies and redevelopment projects and so forth. $1.7 million a year budget that's been administered by the CDC. I think that we talked an awful lot about the P-bid, which is a major part of it today. But the subcommittee that I chaired was redevelopment monies and redevelopment projects. I think that you also need to take a look at decoupling the P-bid monies from the redevelopment monies that are being spent. The redevelopment monies go directly from here into there. I would suggest that the responsibility for that redevelopment monies rests in your hands, and that you appoint a 2 or 3 member each person committee to oversee that redevelopment money, how it's administered. If that committee decides that the best administration is with the CDC, so be it. If not, if there's other ways to do it and cheaper ways to do it, so be it. But you need to have a separate committee looking at your monies that's being spent when you're spending $21 million in this particular area of us general taxpayer money. So there is a difference between the monies that are being in, and just to focus on the P-bid, we needed that. It's very, very important that we have the proper administration. The administration is key. When we first went into this and all the way through, the 2 concerns that we had were transparency and the administration. And as was said at the very beginning, are we getting our bang for our buck? So in the administration of the redevelopment monies, I would ask you, how many times is one of these projects come before you? That's a lot of money to be spending. And it can't just be given off. It's got to be the responsibility of the council, or the responsibility of the council's appointed committee. And so I firmly suggest that. Thank you.
Hello, Council. Gabriel Marubo, property owner, restaurant owner. I know we're coming down to summertime special events. which really affects the restaurants on Main Street. So I have a lot of concerns about the car show, concerts on the green, how those are going to continue to operate. For me, the car shows are great, but I can't have everybody pay the assessed taxes and only a few of us benefit. I've been talking to other people to be able to run this car show for a lot less money, for it to turn a profit, for it not to be cut when budgets have to be cut. So that's my concern, to make sure this car show continues going for the least amount of tax dollars spent on it too. You know, the city benefits a lot, I benefit a lot, Monty Benny benefits a lot, and it's going to attract more restaurants. The new brewery, the Alpine Brewery, it's vital for this car show to continue for them. If they come into something and the car show just phases out, it's going to affect them. You know, it's definitely going to affect me. And I got a couple car guys here, and they can talk to you about how things can work, you know, running a car show.
Hi, my name is Jeffrey Ferber, and I'm proud to listen to people say with a gleam in their eye how great the car show is. I'm the one that started it. I know what it costs to run that car show. And when I take a look at some of the things that have been going on down here, where we get fewer and fewer people coming down, it's not been run correctly. I've left it alone. It's not thing to do. The gentleman back here, he works hard to do murals. He does a great job. The reason he's out there painting the murals and not me, is because he knows what he's doing. I can put paint on the walls, but I guarantee you, if I paint the walls, they're not going to look very good. Likewise, when you do a car show, if you don't know what you're doing, you're going to end up with a mediocre car show. You asked me a week ago, would I come back and take care of the car show, or would I be interested in doing the car show? I've been approached by the gentleman behind me. They've asked me, would I please come back and put the car show back together the way it used to be. And I told them already, I said, I will commit to do the car show for you. Now, I remember when we did the CDC, there was 4 people in the CDC at that time. I go back to the chart that we saw last Tuesday. First 3 years, no movement. 4th year, it took off like you were shooting a NASA space shot. Now, I can tell you that the 4 people that were on the CDC at the time, their job was to sit inside every Wednesday, the office, and just schmooze with whoever was coming by. Their job was to sit in the CDC office and take care of any dignitaries that we brought down, such as when Mark Lewis came down. Whomever, didn't really matter. That was their job. They did that great job. But when it came to doing the actual work for the car show, it was Mr. Chabot and myself who did all the work. We didn't make any money off that car show. Just like this gentleman didn't make any money off those things. I'm glad that he's here taking and making paints on the wall to make this city look better. And I really do appreciate what he's doing. I'd rather paint. And likewise, I would like to see the car show go back to what it was and not what it is now. And I sure do wish the man that started the concerts on the green was here. I helped him. I can tell you, he didn't make any money off the concerts on the green, except for a small rental of putting out the PA system every single Friday. These are all community-oriented type people who came here to help make this all work. This were not people making $168,000 a year plus expenses, who can't stand here and tell you I'm willing to take a cut. I mean, I'm not asking her as a personal taxpayer. I'm sitting there saying, what do you mean? Why can't you at least step up to the plate and say, okay, I'll cut back until we get to better times? I know I have done so as a businessman. We have grown and we have shrunk. The ones that have shrunk are treading water. And we're fighting. And we're going to come back. The ones that are still out here with the grandiose ideas of $168,000 a year and getting paid for all that, they're going to be gone. Because we can't afford this anymore. Maybe in another 5 or 10 years, yes. Not right now. So I will come back and I will help put the car show back together. And I know I'll get a lot of help. You got another car show guy sitting right over here. This is the gentleman that started the La Mesa Car Show with his dad. I guarantee you that he's gonna tell you the same thing I'm telling you right now. Doesn't take the hundreds of thousands of dollars I saw for last year's car show to run a car show. It does not do the, I don't know where they spend the money. I do, when you play with the games of, you gotta pay for that 168 here, 68 over there, the 40 over here, 25,000 for the, yeah, I understand that. You know, our office, I can tell you, is a cell phone in my car, or his car. His office is a truck with his paint and his cell phone. That's all it takes.
Good evening, Councilman, Mayor Pro Tem, Mayor. Just a procedural suggestion, more Mr. Siegel than anybody else. But I think if you're going to leave two options in the management plan, you're headed for failure. You should pick one. And I think what I heard, most of the people that spoke, it better be a clear cut from CDC. But whatever you decide, put one on your ballot and go with it. That's my comment.
Thank you. I'd like to provide some clarifying information with regard to the car show for this year. Our car show coordinator is on board. He is employed by the CDC already to undertake the full car show season for this year. We have a schedule that begins on May 4th, finishes up I think in late October, October 26th or 31st. We have the Halloween show. We also have the special Christmas show. In my binder, I have the themes for this year's car show that are already underway. We have already raised money for this year's car show. So any concern that exists throughout the community, and I understand that the car show generates significant traffic, I recognize that and respect that. We fully intend to continue to support the car show and to make it even better than it has been in the past. It is back to its full season, and we will begin that full season on May 4th. Thank you.
She might as well come up here. Full season starts in April, ends in end of October. That's the full season. And when we did the Christmas cruise, that was just a cruise in with all the lights. Last week, I told you she did not even have dates up. Now she's down making the dead run, and I know who she's talking with. You might as well bring up his name. His name's Steve Lordigan. He belongs to the Car Club Council. He's a member of the Car Club Council. He speaks from one club. I belong to the Car Club Council also. I'm on the board of directors of the Car Club Council. I speak with over 76 car clubs. Huge difference. You want to take it back to what it was? I think you gentlemen remember that those streets were not just packed with cars, they were packed with people. It's not just marketing the cars. Rich will tell you the same thing I'm telling you right now. That's La Mesa. It's the people you need to market. You want all these businesses to come back downtown? They came here in the first place in 2002, 2003 because they saw all these people. They said, hey, I can get a portion of that. You don't have those numbers on the street anymore. And you've taken away parking spaces. So the cars, there's not as many cars as there were before. So what do you do? You can't bring in more cars, there's no more space. You gotta bring in more people. And I told you this before, it takes 7 days a week. It takes 365 to market this thing properly. She's just now getting started on this year. This should have been started last year, right at the end of the last year. It's a dime late and $1 short, and that's what these gentlemen are all upset about, and the ladies. Thank you.
Are there any other comments?
I
I think with respect to the car show, I think everybody realizes that's probably the most positive thing that we have going for downtown. And it's probably the thing we need to protect the most. And my question is, last year, they didn't even start till July. Now, they were talking about, Jeff was talking about before, the car show always started in April, ended in October. It had certain dates. They had certain things they did, and for some reason we've had this management that goes up and down. Like I said last year, and I think the reason given was the park wasn't open, but the park still wasn't even open in July, and they still had a car show. If myself or probably any other prudent businessman would have been overseeing that, we'd have said just run the car show anyway, run it up and down the street. If it goes an extra 2 blocks down Avocado and a block up, Main Street, so be it, and it'll be better for those businesses there instead of shutting it down. And then another thing is, we really need to protect that, because I know Gabe and the other restaurant owners really depend on that car show. So here we are voting on the CDC. We don't even know if they're going to exist past, what, July or something? But they're in charge, and this is the problem where we have this commingling that's so difficult. Because what happens if they don't get the vote, and they're running the car show, they're not even in charge of the P-bid anymore. Because I know for myself personally, if they're not decoupled, I will not support it in any way, shape, or form. And I will personally actively go out and talk to the business owners like I did before, but I'll be on the other side of the coin this time. I just don't see how this can exist and be successful. But that car show, I'm asking you gentlemen again, and Jill when she gets here, that you really need to protect that and really put that in some kind of cocoon and not see that thing get caught up in this, is the P-bid going to be there? Is it not going to be there? Is the gentleman that's running the car show, is he a car show guy? They said they hired some guy, but is he a car show guy? I don't know. Does he know these guys? I mean, these car show guys are just like, I'm a developer. I've got a whole lingo. I know what's going on. We have a whole world. These car show guys are the same way. I'm not a car show guy, but I know how important it is to El Cajon. And we should have the car show guys running the car show like it was. I remember when Jeff brought the good guys here. And that street, it must have had, what, 1,500 cars? 1,500 cars. How many? 1,500 cars. I mean, it was unbelievable. But that's because these car show guys know these other car show guys. It's just not some guy you hire for $250, $300 a week to do some promotions. I mean, these guys eat it, sleep it, breathe it. They got the cars in their garage. They know all the guys. They know what they need. And so we really need to think about protecting this car show for El Cajon and for the businesses down there. Now, my building doesn't directly receive much benefit from it, but it does though, because it's positive about El Cajon. And so whatever's positive about El Cajon is positive about whatever I'm doing and whatever I'm building here for the whole city. And I think that's something that needs to be taken into consideration too. Thank you.
Yes, ma'am, come on.
Good evening, Council. My name is Charlisa Mitra-Kelly, and I'm a volunteer board member for the CDC. I'm also a resident of El Cajon. One of the things that I've noticed from today's discussions from everybody involved in this room is that there are 2 different aspects that are being looked at, the PBIT and the CDC. One of the things I do is, I'm an architectural designer, I work with contractors, and if you take CDC as a contractor who deals with the general contractor dealing with minor consultants, trying to get together and put together elements such as the design review committee, the PBIT, the clean and safe program, and all these elements that come together which one individual person cannot do. And if you think of multiple elements trying to do the specific programs, you're talking about everybody trying to do something that does not work together, because you all have opinion, everybody has their comments, everybody has their fees, everybody has their charges, everybody has their opinion. So CDC is taking that whole aspect and bringing it into under one umbrella and trying to control that. And that cannot be done in just by one person. It has to be done by a group of people under one umbrella again. So when we talk about car shows and people being hired for the car show, why haven't I heard somebody say, why hasn't the CDC, why haven't you gone to the CDC and said, why don't I offer you my volunteer hours to help with the car show? So that is something I don't understand why people are not approaching. The same thing goes with the gentleman who does mural. He does it because the CDC requests it. It's not because he's being charged or he's charging for it. He goes there and he does it. So this is where I am very confused. Why for mismanaging the P-bed or mismanaging the hours. It also takes man-hours. I would say the city takes the same amount of man-hours to control the projects going on in the city. So I'm still very confused. It seems like there seems to be some sort of an attack on the CDC from somewhere or somehow that is not correct. Yes?
Councilmember McClellan.
Let me ask you a couple of questions.
Sure.
Do you get paid any money from the CDC?
No.
Do you have a job with them at all?
No.
Just a volunteer?
Correct.
And what do you do just to help on that architectural?
I actually am part of the design review board. I co-chair that, and I'm also on the board as a volunteer member.
The board member, do you have a property in the district?
Not in the PBID district. I'm behind the PBID district.
So you're one of the non-EBID
Yes.
board members?
Correct. And I also assist with the CDC with the Design Review Commission, where basically we work with property owners who bring their projects in before the CDC puts it in front of the board members, the Design Review Committee, to go over the project so that make sure that they are getting the drawings and every element within the space coordinated before it goes through so that it can save them money and design costs. And we also meet separately with property owners on the side, which we are creating this library where we actually work with the property owners, give them design concepts, and help them out as much as possible.
Do you get paid by any property owners?
No. It's strictly volunteer hours.
Thank you.
Councilmember Wells.
I just wanted to say that the reason we're looking at this is because it's our job to make sure that the money that we're collecting in tax dollars is spent appropriately. I don't want to ever forget that these are taxes. People don't have a choice. If they have a business in the business district, they have to pay their taxes. And so we as a body have to represent them and make sure that they're being fairly treated. That's why we're looking at this. It's not a personal thing. It's what we're supposed to do as elected officials.
Yes, ma'am.
I totally understand why it's being looked at, but I think it also needs to be looked at in a way that we work together, and I think Cindy mentioned earlier that I think we have more than enough employees and we can look at it, but the fact that we're being attacked is like we're really not performing what we're actually trying to do. And also in favor of Cindy, she's just come on board, and she's trying her best to make this work with the new plan in action. I think we should give that opportunity to understand and let her work with you to get to that state. I think it's just like asking somebody to come on board and expecting them to perform miracles. It just doesn't happen in a day. It takes some time, and it takes some credit, and it takes, faith. And I understand there is anger from the past, but you have to give that opportunity again. Thank you.
Thank you.
Ladies first. So, I'm also on your commission. The Design Review Commission is the city commission, and a vote was taken. In fact, I'd like to have the members of the commission just raise their hands. We've got a good sized number. It was offered to us that we be paid, just like other councilmen council committee people are paid. And people said they wouldn't be on it if we were paid. We couldn't ever be put in a position where someone could buy our favor or imply our favor. So we all volunteer very cheerfully, and we are thrilled to death that we're able to make downtown even prettier, and that we can help people who really have no idea how to design a business. They may be great business people, but they don't know how to design an enticing frontage for the street. So the good looks you see down there has come through our committee, our commission, before it goes to the planning department. So we are serving the planning department too, and doing some of the work to clear away the clutter before it gets to them. So I think we're doing a pretty darn good job because it's looking pretty good. And that's under the CDC. So I think that has to be considered, that many, many of us have volunteered for years years and will continue to do so as long as we are welcome.
Thank you. And another speaker, sir.
Good evening, Darren Rose. I was also on the Blue Ribbon Commission, and I want to thank the City Council for the opportunity not only to serve, but to be a part of making sure that the tax dollars that we are spending as a public are being used correctly. In these times right now, everyone's re-examining their budgets. I mean, we re-examined a budget of an entity, and it's called a witch hunt, you know. It wasn't coincidence that the information that Scott Barnett was lambasted for turned out to be correct and true, and we found it by digging even deeper. I think it's important that you realize that the CDC is also representing the city of El Cajon. And when they make moves, whether they're something you guys have approved or not, they're the face of El Cajon. Okay, the vacancies are not only the city's responsibility, but the CDC. What you've got here is just a classic example of bureaucracy run amok. It's run its course, and it's time to reel it in, and it's time to start over. They've had 12 years to turn this place around in some of the best economic times anyone has seen. The cows have come home to roost, and everyone is trying to grab a chair before the music stops. I think it's important that the community takes care of the car show. The community, if there's someone that wants to volunteer for design review, they're there. I don't see why we need $600,000, $700,000, $800,000 budgets to accomplish this stuff. That money, people talk about the East County Performing Arts Center. It's going to take a lot of money to fix that. Maybe there could be some diverting to that. So, CDC, I don't blame Cindy for any of these problems. You know, I would have thought that under the circumstances, her being new, it would have been a great opportunity for her to really partner up with us instead of being on the defensive all the time. I will never understand that. But it's run its course. The PBIT needs to be run by the stakeholders, not by community representatives or people that live outside the district. It needs to be decoupled. If there's anything left for the CDC to do, I guess that's between the City Council and the CDC. Thank you.
Sir? And another speaker.
Council. Good evening. My name is Rick Sweeney. I'm a stakeholder and also on the board of directors. Fairly new on the board of directors, but I do know and see regularly at the meetings there that everyone who is there is not paid. They're all volunteer. They do offer, I think, many hours of service to not only the citizens of El Cajon, but to the city council and to the city itself in terms of tasks that are accomplished. And there's so much I want to say. One thing I do want to say is that a friend of mine just recently came from out of state. He was here maybe 15 or 16 years ago. Saw downtown El Cajon for what it was. Just recently came back 2 or 3 days ago after being away for so many years. And just could not get over the difference between El Cajon then and El Cajon now. And through these 15 or 16 years, the CDC has evolved and changed, as I think we're seeing needs to happen now. The CDC probably does need to make some changes, and as a new board member, I can start to see things that do need to be changed, things that might be run differently, but I think it's a big mistake to take the CDC completely out of the picture and start brand new from scratch with an organization that we know not who will be on it, how it will be run, how it will be implemented. I think you have some of the best people probably in the state here already doing the work of the staff, people that have come in, that you've heard from tonight, know how these things are run and operated. They've already suggested making changes that could be made. In addition to that, I think everyone is in agreement here that the PBID itself as an entity and the CDC as a managing entity should be separated to some degree. That's all, everyone here agrees with that. The question here is to what degree should they be separated, and who, if not the CDC, the people that have been doing this for the past 15, 20 years, who would do that with the knowledge and the experience that they have brought to managing this beat bid? So that's the question. If not the CDC, who? And knowing all the work that goes in behind managing all these programs, how long would it take to set up a whole new organization to manage this money and make it as efficient as it probably could be by just changing what we already have? That's what I would have to say.
Thank you, sir. Any other comments?
Well, I think, I of course was involved with the car show too. I think everybody's hit it on the head right there. Everything that was being done by volunteers in many, many cases. It's right now, in fact, I think we were volunteers of the year 2002. I have some watch or something to show that, but I think it needs to go back to that. The problem is we're down to the wire for doing things. If the CDC doesn't exist, what happens to the car show? Does it start off in the middle of the year? I don't know, but what I don't see is, do we do another 5 years of what's been going on here? I think that's the main thing we have to deal with, is we're down to the wire on what's going to happen. If I'm involved with anything that I do in business, 5 years is like nothing to put something together. It's already been put together by the CDC. It's not working. Do you want to give them another 5 years? And especially what happens if all of this ends in the middle of the year, especially the car show, if everybody's concerned with that, which I personally am. What do you do when it happens in the middle of the year? Thank you very much.
Sure. Councilmember Wells.
Just from a practical standpoint, if things were to shift and you were going to take over the car show, or somebody like you was going to take over the car show, at what physical date would you have to know to get things going before next season?
A year ago. Well, that's true. That's very true. This year, whatever happens, whether CDC's going to run it or whoever's going to run it, or somebody else came in and started it right now, you're starting at the wrong time. Whatever you're doing is just going to get you through this season. You need 1 year to prepare for everything that's going on, as you're well aware. So this is going to be a real tight year for the car show. And if the car show is as important to the businesses as I believe it is, boy, you're really behind the 8 ball on this one. I don't know what you do to get rid of the CDC, and then the car show stops in the middle of the year, or do you appoint somebody else to do the car show? If that's what, that's my major concern, of course. I don't know if that answered your question or not, but you're not ready for it.
Yeah, it may not be up to us. And anyway, this whole thing has to go for a vote for the public. We've got Darrell Priest here saying that if the CDC is not decoupled from the PBID, he's going to actively campaign against it. He's got a pretty strong voice in this community. Sure. So I can see where, regardless of what we wanted to do, this PBID may not even survive this. If we didn't have a PBID, would you be able to have a car show this year? Or would it take a year off and then you would have
something would happen, let's put it this way.
Have some show.
Yeah, you would have some type of show, but we talked with the mayor at one point in time where there needs to be things like the car show every night of the year. There's so much going on downtown here. And again, it can be handled by volunteers. Look at how many people stood up and said, hey, I volunteer to do this, I volunteer to do that. It just needs sort of the glue to put it all together and work it out as it goes along. The main reason we're not doing the car show anymore is basically a political change of the CDC that we just couldn't agree with. We're volunteers. We weren't really getting paid for it. We raised money to keep the car show operating, and it was not taxpayer money, by the way. But we weren't making any money doing this thing. So if somebody's going to come in and say, hey, you got to do it my way, you got to do it this way, it doesn't work. You need to let the volunteers who are doing this, give them a free rein to go out, assist them, but don't stifle them. Don't try and micromanage them. And I think that's what the problem is right now is, boy, you're down to the wire on some of this stuff, and you just got to get something going. get through the year and then go from there.
Regardless of what happens, thanks for all the
Sure,
work you
thank
put
you.
into alcohol, I appreciate it.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. The answer is April the 6th. All right?
April 6th is the
And there's
is
a
the
lot,
date
there's
that
a
you
lot
have
of
to know.
stuff that's been going on in the last 2 weeks that my partner doesn't know about. Because he's running one side of the business, I'm running another side.
Just to clarify, April 6th is the date that you would have to have
Then
an
we would
answer
start the car show April the 6th. I've already been out knocking on doors of people that support us in the past. You know, they're not gonna be able to support this year the way they said, you know, let's face facts, you're a businessman. Did you start marketing or doing your advertising budget now? You started in October, November, or maybe December. Your decision was in January. And now we've got somebody out here marketing a car show for April, whenever, or May, whatever it is. They're just now starting. Okay, on your mark, get set, go. I'm sorry, but you're not gonna get the money you think you're gonna get. That money's spent. So what you're gonna get is a pat on the head, like my partner says, and they'll give us some money and we'll go from there. My comment to the gentleman behind me was, are you willing to put the finances behind this thing till we get this thing off the ground? Their comment was, give us the budget. I gave them a budget. And they said, well, we can foresee where we can get this. Separate car shows. One is a laid-back family type thing, picnic, barbecue. This is more of a street car show. There are two different animals. They don't market the same, they don't draw the same numbers, they're different people. But if you know how to put them together, it's just dovetailing them together. But April the 6th is when he wants to start it. I told him April 6th to start it. It may not have 30 trophies in a week like we used to do. It may only have 5 or 6 or 10 trophies a week. But we'll start it, and it won't be second class. Because what we're forgetting is, I'm going to bring mobile event radio into this. Bob will also bring a radio show into this. Mobile event radio is a big rig that does big events. It is a sound radio truck. When it rolls into town, it's 30 feet long, she's 12.5 feet wide, and when she's deployed, she's 20 feet wide. With a 12 by 12 stage, 5 feet off the ground, that anybody of consequence, and Miss Anson Cox would know this, if you're gonna have a real performer on stage, I'm telling you, they're gonna ask for 5 feet off the ground minimum because of security reasons. And she's bannered all the way around too. You can't get on the stage, unless you're told to get on the stage. So there's a lot of resources that we're going to bring in right from the get-go, which means I'm taking our truck off the market on every Wednesday night. And that's a lot to take off the marketplace. But I'll do it, because we designed that truck for this show. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
I'm sorry, just a quick comment. I know, Rick Sweeney again, I know the car show is very important to downtown Elkhorn. It's important to my business, and it's really a gem, I think, of East County. I wish that the car people that are here tonight might have approached the CDC as it exists now to make these changes and make these offers. I haven't heard anything about making changes to the car show, maybe things that have gone on in the past where things weren't as they should have been. But I really think it's a mistake to start out with a whole new entity to try to manage the car show and everything else, where, you know, we as volunteers on the board of directors are welcome all types of ideas to make downtown Elkhorn better, the car show better, all the events better, and to start afresh with a whole new organization to do everything, not just the car show. It just seems to me to be going backwards. There's going to be some lag time, some downtime in setting up a whole new organization to manage all of these facets that the CDC manages, not just the car show. But certainly, from what I've heard tonight, and I agree, I think the car show is not what it used to be 3 and 4, even 5 years ago. But I would love, as a board of directors, to hear your ideas at a board meeting, an economic and arts development committee. I would love to hear these ideas and implement them as the CDC exists or as it might exist going forward. But again, to start brand new, clean slate to me is just going backwards. It's a waste of time. It might not be a waste of time long run. I mean, it might take 2 or 3 years to get back up and operating. But why not take the expertise and the volunteers you already have in place and make a better CDC? Or don't even call it the CDC, call it something different. The name doesn't really matter, but you have the people, you have the expertise. Why change that? Or why make a whole new organization? Just change what you have. And we've heard the suggestions tonight from the experts on how to make those changes. That's all I have.
Thank you, sir. Are there any comments? Any other comments? Okay, last chance here. Any comments?
I have a comment.
Councilman
I was wondering, why couldn't we start the car show on April the 6th and have this other group do it for us and get 1,500 cars out there maybe in a year or so? That's what we need in El Cajon. We don't need one car club, we need 70 car clubs participating in our car shows. And I'd like to hear why we can do that.
We're here on a workshop on the PBIT, the CDC, not making a decision on whether the city's going to take over our car show.
Not the city.
Well, it seems to be where this is going, we keep getting into a dialogue. It seems to be venturing off into the question of the city taking over a car show because these gentlemen are offering their services to somebody. And I'm not sure it's the CDC, but maybe there's a better forum for that sort of negotiation to take place. But I just don't want the city council to get into a negotiation itself where this group about taking over the car show.
I think what we probably better do is have that, maybe the council member wants to put that on an agenda at some point, the discussion. Would that be more appropriate, Councilor?
Next council meeting, next week.
This gentleman back here asked why we didn't volunteer before. I hate to tell you this, but we did. We gave her our card, and we told her if she needs any assistance in car shows, she's new here in town. I'll tell you exactly where I met you, Cindy. Right in front of the downtown cafe. And we were standing on the corner next to Jumpin' Jack Flash. And he's the gentleman that introduced me to you and told you who I was. And at that time, I handed you a card and said, if you need help, you just call me. And I've been in there a couple times. And I've asked, when are the car dates? Because I am from over 77 car clubs. And they're all asking me the same questions. And that's why I was asking and going into and asking what's going on with the car show. Yes, because I was interested in it. But I have volunteered more than once in 2002, 2003. If you look at your records, you're on the CDC higher echelon. You're going to find that Jeff Ferber and Bob Chabot were your volunteers of the year. So ask the questions. I'll be more than glad to answer.
Thank you, sir. Any other comments? Okay, we're pushing 10 o'clock here. I would like to thank all of you for coming. I know it's been a lot of time. All of you are concerned or you wouldn't be here. Spent 3 hours. Trying to give everybody an opportunity to speak their piece.